Alright, today I am going to tell you all about the amazing things about Barnyard. I've been watching it a lot lately. Did I recently start season 2? I think that was a while ago. I don't know. I've been out of the loop with watching cartoons, especially this summer, but I'm getting back into it. I've been doing it a little differently than how I normally do it, where, like, the past 2 years, I've been just watching, like, 2 episodes of, like, a cartoon. Well, basically, what I would do is, like, I would watch 5 shows in one sitting, and I would just watch, like, 1 or 2 episodes of a certain show, and then I would go on to the next show, and like I would just watch 5 or 6 shows, or maybe like 7 or 8 too. Well, car, 7 or 8 shows like in one night, and that's how I would watch cartoons. But I just think like it's just better to just binge watch shows and not like watch them in chunks because it just makes me feel like I'm getting through the show faster. I feel like that's how I feel with Barnyard. Like it's allowed me to get through the show a lot quicker. And now I'm done with this. I'm done with the entire show, even though like the show has only gone on for 2 seasons. It went on for I think it started in 2007 and ended in 2011, which I know is a long time to air 2 seasons, but Nickelodeon does that. They just love to spread out episodes of their shows. And yeah, in 2011, yeah, some episodes in the last season were moved to Nicktoons. They got the Nicktoons treatment, which is a thing that's very common with a lot of Nicktoons. Is that if the show starts becoming like less popular or starts going down in ratings, they move it to Nicktoons, and of course, that always means it's the death of that show. It's like a common meme in the cartoon community that whenever a Nicktoon goes to Nicktoons, like you just know that the show is over. Like there's no saving it from failure at that point because the ratings aren't gonna get better. And like it's not a good strategy. Like it's such a weird strategy for Nickelodeon to do. Like just hey, this show is not doing very well. How do we how what can we do? I don't know, maybe air it more? No, 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 no. How about we put it on a network that has even lower ratings and even less people watch that network? Let's put it on that network. Yeah, that's a very smart decision. Like I don't get the logic behind that. Like that never and they've done that for so long. Like I don't know. I feel like recently, like 3 years ago, there was news that It's Pony. I think it was the first Nicktoon in a really long time to finish its entire run on the main Nickelodeon channel, to not get moved to Nicktoons in like the last season, because like even the Fairly Odd Parents got the Nicktoons treatment. Like, it's honestly kind of crazy how Nickelodeon treated the Fairly Odd Parents the same way they treated like a lot of their other Nicktoons that they don't care about as much as SpongeBob. And the Fairly Odd Parents went on for 10 seasons. It was pretty successful. It was the second SpongeBob for the network, and they treated it pretty poorly in its last season, which I don't blame them because the show was awful. I don't blame them for wanting to get rid of it. Not even giving it a proper series finale, just canceling it. Like, I think they made the right decision there. That's like one of the very few Nickelodeon wins that I can accept. But getting back of the Barnyard, we got off a little off topic there. Back at the Barnyard. It's funny that I'm doing this right now because around this time of the year, I watched Barnyard got added to Paramount Plus around this time of the year last year. And fun fact about that. So when I first found out about this news, I think it was through the Nickelodeon Crave Twitter account last year. They announced that Paramount Plus was adding the Barnyard movie on September 2nd last year, and Back at the Barnyard September 9th of that year. And I remember seeing this news being really excited because for like I don't know, since Paramount Plus first launched in early 2021 up till that point in 2022, I've always been wanting for Paramount Plus to add Barnyard. I always thought it was so stupid that they waited that long to add Barnyard, and yet they had Planet Sheen. They had shows like Planet Sheen, which is like, who cares about Planet Sheen? But like, why isn't Barnyard on here? Like Planet, I know Barnyard isn't really a popular iconic show. Like it's not like SpongeBob in terms of like the quality, but like Barnyard still gets like memes sometimes to this day. Like I feel like it deserves to be on Paramount Plus over Planet Sheen. Like why is Planet Sheen get on Paramount Plus but not Barnyard? That's so weird. But in 2022, they finally added it, and I was excited. And for the longest time, I could not find Back of the Barnyard because I could find the Barnyard movie, and I did watch the Barnyard movie, like the day after it got added to Paramount Plus. But I could not find Back of the Barnyard, and I actually forgot about it. Forgot that it was going to be on Paramount Plus for like a full month, and then when I went to look for it, it wasn't there, which was weird. But yeah, I think what I did was I ended up going to back. I ended up searching Back of the Barnyard on Google, and then looking up to see what it was on because I was like, did they just forget to add it to Paramount Plus? That would be weird. And apparently, it does still say Paramount Plus as like one of those streaming services that you can watch Barnyard on, if not the only streaming service. So I went to Paramount Plus, and it was there. It was always there the whole time. It's just never shown up. Whenever you like go to the Nickelodeon section on Paramount Plus, Back of the Barnyard just doesn't show up. It's weird, but the movie does. Like I don't get it. Like are they trying to hide Back of the Barnyard? Are they ashamed of Back of the Barnyard? Like how come Planet Sheen is on the Nickelodeon section but not Back of the Barnyard? That's so weird. Like why do I have to go through Google to see the why I have to go through Google to see the show on your streaming service? That's so odd. But I added it to my list so that way I wouldn't have to do that every time I wanted to watch Back of the Barnyard. Could you imagine if I had to do that every time? But yeah, I added it to my list that way. Like whenever I go to Paramount Plus, the first thing that I see is Back of the Barnyard. So that's how I can easily access the show. So yeah, this whole video is me talking about Back of the Barnyard and why you should watch it because it is a very underrated show. I feel like people don't give it enough credit. Okay, for a while now, like this whole year since I've been watching Barnyard, I've just had this feeling of, okay, people really need to check out the show. I don't know why the show doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to like the best Nickelodeon shows because the show really is like great. And now, like recently, going back and like watching these season 2 episodes, I'm like, wow, this show really is slept on. Like no one talks about this show outside of memes. So like I don't know, it feels like whenever people talk about Back of the Barnyard on the internet, it's always like a meme thing. Like, oh, it's like making fun of Back of the Barnyard. It's like that one thing, like I've seen like two people, like my favorite YouTubers, Jack and Lev, they said that they have a theory that Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius was only popular because of marketing and because Nickelodeon pushed it a lot, because a lot of times whenever people talk about Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius on whenever people talk about Jimmy Neutron on the internet, it's always just making fun of the show and like making memes, and like it's never people actually saying, oh, Jimmy Neutron, that was a good show. Like you never hear that about Jimmy Neutron. It's always just people like being nostalgic about it and people like memeing the show, like sodium chloride. Like I feel like that's the same case with Back of the Barnyard where people only look at it for like nostalgic value but never actually acknowledge that it is a genuinely good show like SpongeBob, because people always praise SpongeBob, or at least older SpongeBob. People always praise the first 3 seasons and people always say like, oh, SpongeBob, like that's like a very iconic show, the jokes are very well written, the characters, the atmosphere, everything, it just works. But Like with Barnyard, it's like a joke. It's like a big joke on the internet. I feel like, especially the movie though. I feel like the movie is definitely more understandable when it comes to like being a joke. I get that one more than the actual show because the movie is kind of it's a little different from the show. Let me just say that. Like I watched it once last year and I would say it's a good movie. I don't hate it as much as other people do. Some people don't like the movie at all. And some people say it's better, would actually say it's better than the show itself, which I absolutely don't agree with. But it's a good movie. It's an okay movie. I wouldn't say it's better than Big Time Movie or anything. Not the best Nickelodeon TV movie. Not even beating the classic Swindle from 2013, starring Jeanette McCurdy and Noah Monk. But Barnyard is a good movie. Um, and the show is also pretty good, but it's better than the movie. um, and I'm gonna show you why. I actually took notes this time. I actually have notes right in front of me to explain why this show has been slept on for so many years and why you need to check out this show. If you're watching this, you need to check out the show if you haven't because it really is something special. All right. um all right, first I have the plot. Let's start with the plot. Okay, the plot of the show is very simple. It's not anything special because it's literally just Toy Story, but instead of them being toys, they're barn animals, and they can't let any human see them talking, or else they'll get exposed. It's like a common thing in some episodes, but not every episode focuses on that, which is a good thing, because with like literally every Toy Story movie is about the toys not to get noticed by anyone. Like it's literally every Toy Story movie. But with Barnyard, well, I guess it's not really fair to compare the two because they're like it's weird to compare movies to episodes because movies are longer and it's not, but still not as much content as like a show. It's kind of weird, kind of a weird comparison, but with Toy Story, that was the whole thing with every movie. But with Barnyard, like, yeah, they have episodes where they're like, oh, we have to dress up as this person, or we have to go in this costume in order to protect our identity and not be noticed. That we're talking animals because we can't let anyone see us. Um, but that's not every episode. There are some episodes that are about other stuff, like just the talking animals, just doing it, etc. It's a very fun show that does more with its plot than what you would think. I think that's a big turnoff for a lot of people when they look at Barnyard like, oh, this is just like some generic Toy Story wannabe show. Especially the movie, of course. Like the movie, like I don't think anyone really wanted to see Barnyard. After knowing the plot, I don't think they really were that interested in seeing the movie because they were like, oh well, it's it's literally just Toy Story but with animals instead of toys. Like, okay, I'm not gonna watch this. Like, I would rather go actually watch Toy Story, but no, like the show isn't like that. The show is more than just Toy Story, but barn animals. Like it's more like barn animals doing etc. But they also have to hide their identity sometimes because they are talking barn animals and they have to be normal and fit in with everyone. Blah blah blah. Because I think the explanation in the show is that the reason why they can't be exposed is because I don't know, because then the humans just wouldn't like it, I guess. They would just be like, talking cow, wow, you're crazy. Because yeah, there was that one episode with the farmer where it was the farmer's birthday and everyone was every talking animal in the barn was trying to wish the farmer happy birthday, and he was like, talking cow, and he was like getting really like dramatic. like talking animals, and he was trying to like hurt them or something. Yeah, so I think that's why they want to hide their identity, because there's like this thing that every if they did become exposed by and everyone every human in the Barnyard universe knew that they were talking animals, then they would somehow have an issue with it, which I think is kind of weird, because I don't know if that would be a problem. Like if in real life, like if you just had talking animals, if the animals just somehow just talked, like you just figured out, oh, animals can't talk, like I don't think the world would have that reaction. Like I feel like they would be more peaceful about it, especially like people who are big advocates for like animal rights and people who love animals. I feel like they would love that. But apparently in the Barnyard universe, if animals can talk, that's the end of the world. We can't have that. Animals talking. That's no good. um yeah, we'll talk about the plot. Now we're going to talk about the characters. Yeah. The characters, they're all pretty interesting. Um, I guess we have like three kind of dumb characters in the show, but like they're dumb in unique ways, which what makes the show very chaotic but interesting. Is fact that like we have like Otis, the main cow. Of course, he's the main character. He is the leader of the group. He's the one that keeps everyone kind of organized. Because the big thing in the movie Barnyard is that Otis's father, Ben, used to be the leader of the Barnyard, but then he dies. Spoiler alert, I guess, for Barnyard the movie. Spoiler alert, Ben dies. Spoilers for like a movie that's like 17 years old. Ben dies. Yeah, and then after Ben dies, Otis takes over as the leader of the Barnyard, and he allows him. Yeah, and that's the whole theme of the movie, is that like Otis has to decide whether or not he wants to party and just be careless, or he has to be he has to set the rules. He has to be the leader, and that's like the big conflict of the movie. Yeah, in the show, I don't know, they don't mention Ben at all in the show, and that's another big thing about the difference between the movie and the show, is that Ben doesn't get noticed. Ben doesn't get referenced at all. Like even in the episode where Otis like has to father like a dinosaur or something. It's one of the last episodes of the show. It's why it's fresh in my mind. It's why it's fresh in my mind. But like even in that episode, they don't mention anything about the fact that maybe Otis wants to be a father because he misses his dad or something. Like I don't know, maybe that's a little too sad for like a children's show. But like you would think like they would mention it a little bit, but no. Like it's kind of weird how like the movie and the show are kind of different. Like, cause yeah, the big change that they made in the movie and the show, not just the fact that Biggie Cheese is nowhere to be seen in the show. Um, yeah, I guess that's a way to just turn people off from watching the show, is the fact that Biggie Cheese isn't in the show. But no, the big real change in the show is that the character Daisy, which I guess we were going to get to her. Well, no, not Daisy. Because Daisy in the movie is pregnant, and I guess she's with Otis, like I guess, and she gives birth to Otis Jr. I guess I'm spoiling this whole movie, but whatever. I don't know if you want. I guess I should have given a spoiler alert earlier in this video, but spoilers. I guess if you really wanted to watch Barnyard on Paramount Plus. But yeah, she gives birth to Otis Jr. But in the show, not only is Otis Jr. nowhere to be seen in the show, but neither is Daisy. Like they completely just replaced Daisy with Abby, the other female cow in the show. Like she just gets completely replaced with Abby. And what's funny is that like in the show, Daisy is friends with Bessie. And in the show, Abby is friends with Bessie. So like they completely replace Daisy with Abby. And it's so weird because it's not like they're two completely different characters. Like they're kind of similar, but like they're it's like it's kind of a weird choice. I don't know. Maybe they just couldn't get the actress for Daisy back for the movie because like with the movie they got like a lot of big name actors. Like Kevin James was, Paul Blart himself. He played Otis in the movie, but of course they couldn't afford to get they couldn't afford to get Kevin James for the show, so they had to. So, the creator of the show, Steve Odekirk, am I pronouncing that right? The creator of the show voiced Otis in the show instead. And also there's Amanda Sykes, who voices Bessie, too, like a big character. A big celebrity, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they got a lot of big roles for this movie. But she voices Bessie in the show, too. Yeah. Which is kind of interesting. But she doesn't appear in that many episodes. Not as many episodes as the other Barnyard members, so I guess it doesn't surprise me that much. It's kind of like how it's like with Ernest Borgnine, how he like with Ernest Borgnine and Clancy Brown, how they just like don't appear in some SpongeBob games. Like they just don't like to appear in some of those shows because some of those games because they're high profile people. They don't have time for video games to voice video games. But yeah, it is a very weird difference there between the show and the movies. But getting back to the characters, you have Otis, the main cow. He's the leader, but he's also a party animal. He loves to party, of course. He loves the party, and yeah, and also, I guess he's not really a dumb character. He's just he makes like dumb decisions, but he learns from them sometimes. Well, not really. He's just kind of like, yeah, he's just like the leader who's like a little like reckless. He loves to get into trouble and loves to be dangerous and do all this like crazy stuff and be out of this world. An interesting an interesting main character. You also have Pig, which is like the actual dumb character who was like, he's like the fat character. He eats a lot because he's a pig. He eats a lot. He always loves to eat, and he's also really dumb. It's like a running gag in the show where they like either Otis or Pip just goes like, "You're not bright." It's a good running gag. But we'll get more in the jokes later on in this video. But yeah, Pig is a fun character. Same with Freddy, because Freddy is also kind of a dumb character, but he's not like. I mean, they sometimes use the running gag. You're not bright with him, but with Freddy, it's more like chaotic. Like he's chaotically dumb. He's always like trying to eat his best friend Peck. For context, Freddy is a ferret and Peck is a chicken, so that's why he always wants to eat the chicken. Peck's like I don't know, he's just like a reasonable friend of Freddy. He doesn't really have that much of a character. Except he doesn't have a lot of character traits except for like the fact that he's just just a nice barnyard animal. That's just friends with Peck, and he also has to deal with the fact that Freddy wants to eat Peck a lot. I'm trying to think of. Oh yeah, Bessie, of course. Bessie is like the sassy cow. Yeah, she's like the sassy cow that always calls Otis a moron. It doesn't really appear in that many episodes, and they make an episode that kind of addresses that. The episode where like they point out that Bessie always like goes off somewhere after calling Otis a moron every episode, and they actually show footages. They actually show clips from like previous episodes of the show, which is really cool. I love it when even cartoons do that sort of thing, where like they just show like clips from their previous episodes. Like it's like SpongeBob only did that like once or twice in its run. Like they did it once in the Sponge Could Fly with the whole remembering SpongeBob thing, and they kind of did it in Truth or Square with the Patchy segments, but that's about it. Because that's what we thought Truth or Square was going to be like. But whatever. Getting off topic again. Um, yeah, Bessie is a fun character. Yeah, they kind of poke fun at the fact that she hasn't appeared. Oh, as I lower my chair, as I lower my chair, they kind of poke fun at the fact that she doesn't appear in like too many episodes. At least not as many as the main cast or the rest of the main cast. But again, it's understandable. Celebrity voicing her. I guess it makes sense. Um, but yeah, it's still a pretty interesting character. Oh yeah, Pip. Pip is like the actual best friend for Otis. He's like a tiny mouse that's voiced by the same guy that voices Sheen and Jimmy Neutron. Fun fact. Um, and like you could definitely tell when you hear Pip in Barnyard that he does. It is literally just Sheen, literally just Sheen Estevez. Um, yeah, Pip's like the small guy that always is on Otis's shoulder, and he's Pip. Oh yeah, and he always tries to hit on Bessie. That's like a big thing in the show. So he always is that like he has a crush on Bessie, and I guess that leaves Abby. Abby, the character that got the character that replaced Daisy in the show. Abby, I guess, is also. I guess she's kind of like Otis in the sense that, she kind of likes to get crazy and reckless, but not really too much. Um, yeah, they also do like the thing in. They do it in a lot of episodes of like season 2 where they kind of like hint at the fact that Otis and Abby like each other and they actually do like have crushes on each other. But that's the thing. They did. It doesn't go anywhere that much because when they did the same thing in Jimmy Neutron with Jimmy and Cindy, where it's like, oh, they start off hating each other, but then the more the show goes on, they start to actually like each other and have feelings for each other. And what's another show that does that? Oh yeah, Net's Classified. Net's Classified. Yeah, it was with Ned and Mosey, where the more the show went on, the more they hint at the fact that they like each other, and then in the final episode, spoiler alert for Net's Classified, just throwing out spoilers all over this video. But yeah, at the end of Net's Classified, Ned and Mose get together, and yeah, spoilers. I hope you weren't planning on watching Net's Classified. But yeah, I thought they were gonna do that with Otis and Abby, but they didn't. It was weird. Yeah, I thought it was really gonna go somewhere, and then it didn't. But I don't know. I guess maybe it would have gone somewhere if the show went on for more than 2 seasons. Maybe they did have plans to do more with that in season 3, but we just never saw it. We just never got to saw it, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, all the characters are really interesting. Oh yeah, we haven't gone to the non-barnyard animals. We have to talk about the farmer. The farmer always has like weird hobbies. In every episode where like the barnyard animals have to do something, and they have to explain why. Why aren't they why aren't they worried about the farmer noticing them? And they always are like, oh, the farmer is out doing like this weird crazy thing, and he's gonna be gone for like a week. And they always like cut to him doing something like really weird and out of place, and not something that you would think that the farmer would do. Like, it's so weird. Like, the farmer has so many weird hobbies in the show, and that's what makes him kind of likable. Oh yeah, and he also gets hurt a lot in the show too, and also in the movie he gets hurt a lot. He also gets like knocked out every time he notices the animals. They do that a lot in the show. Whenever like a human notices them, they just like knock them out, and so that way they won't remember anything. Which I guess is kind of like a different thing from Toy Story, because like that never happens in Toy Story or any of the Toy Story movies. But yeah, in Barnyard, they just get caught, and then they hit then they just knock them out, and then everything just goes back to normal. So yeah, the farmer is like an interesting character. He doesn't really get much to do in the show. Like, I don't know, he isn't really. There are episodes themed around him, like the episode is about him, but he's not like the main character of any show. Like it's of any episode, it's always just the barnyard animals that are like, that are like causing the plot to happen. And like the farmer is just the main. It's just the main. It's just the center of the episode. The main focus. Uh, so yeah, the farmer isn't really like that much of like a big thing in the show, but like he is, he of course like he does have play a huge role in the show, and that he is the one that that got all these barnyard animals together. He runs this farm, the Barnyard. Um, but like he doesn't really talk that much in the show. You just don't you just don't really get to see him like talk that much. I guess because like how would you do that? Because he can't talk to the barnyard animals because like that doesn't because like that wouldn't make sense for the show, and like you can't focus on anything other than the barnyard animals too much in the show because that defeats the purpose of the show. So yeah, I guess it does make sense why the farmer doesn't have that much of a role in the show, despite having a big role in the show. And there's also Bessie. There's also no, not Bessie. I mean, what's her name? The neighbor, Miss Beatty. That's her name. Yeah, Miss Beatty, who's always trying to expose the barnyard animals, and also in the later episode, she just like straight up knows that the barnyard animals can talk. Like she just knows, like it's just blatant that like she could just literally have conversations with the barnyard animals, and like it's just the secret between between the animals and Miss Beatty. But like she always, no one ever believes her, um, which is kind of messed up. But like it is a cartoon, so like you can't take it too seriously. Look at it, it is messed up that like these barnyard animals are just like gaslighting her, like all the time. But you can't really take it too seriously because it is a cartoon. Like we aren't supposed to take any of this too seriously. It's not as like bad as like some of the stuff that iCarly does. Like they straight up like have these awful, unfortunate implications in a lot of their shows. That's not as bad as anything that iCarly, or no, not anything, but like some of the stuff that iCarly has done in the show. you know. But yeah, she's always trying to expose the barnyard animals. And they just straight up know that, like she just straight up knows that the barnyard animals can talk, and no one believes her. And always calls her crazy, and always just tries to like check her into like psych wards and stuff. Yeah, I guess she's like, she's not really like a funny character, like too funny, but she's all right, I guess. Yeah, I guess she makes for interesting episodes. I guess I don't know. I don't even know the name of her husband in the show. Like he's just like the generic trucker like hat guy who just like he who just like always just hates his wife or something. I guess he's kind of funny. Um, who else? Who else? Oh yeah, there's Snotty Boy. There's Snotty Boy. I don't. I'm not really crazy about Snotty Boy. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I don't really think he's that funny. Like, he's just like this generic kid who just like always picks on the barnyard animals and stuff, and he's just like, like he's not a bad character. I just don't really care for him that much. But I mean, I don't mind any episode that he's in. He's a fine character. He makes the show work. I will say that. Well, yeah, and then you just have a lot of like side characters in the show, like the two pizza guys that just appear in random episodes. The two pizza delivery guys that like are always just like making dumb comments, just never get upset about anything, and just always just gets a lot of like pain and torture. Like they're just like really dumb, like even dumber than Pig and Freddy. Probably combined. Yeah, you also have oh yeah, the news reporter guy that I can't remember his name. Um, Yeah, the news reporter guy that always talks like this, or no, not like that, but like he always talks like this. He's like a really funny accent. Um, who else? What else? Oh yeah, Bigfoot. Bigfoot. It's just like the fact that Bigfoot is just like a recurring side character in the show, and apparently he's like a successful musician in the Barnyard universe. Like it's kind of funny, like the kind of like zaniness in that. Like it's stuff like that that makes Barnyard such a great show. It's the fact that like they just have random characters like that, like Bigfoot. Just like Bigfoot just has like a very successful music career. And it's really funny. And like Bigfoot, like the big thing is like Bigfoot normally is like this character that's like that like no one knows what he looks like, but like in the Barnyard universe, like everyone knows what he looks like. Even the humans in the show know what Bigfoot looks like. Like he's just like this big successful like famous celebrity in the Barnyard universe, which is kind of funny. It's just really funny to think about. Um, who else? Like what's another good side character? Um, oh yeah, I haven't talked about Duke. Oh yeah, or Everett. Yeah, the two dogs in the show. Yeah, Duke. He's I guess like the guy that always is just like in charge. Well, he's the farmer's dog. He's always just like in charge sometimes. And he's always and no one likes him. No one likes the fact that he's in charge, and people think like he's really disgusting because he's a dog. Because he's a dog, he likes to lick toilets, and he puts his mouth all over his chewing ball. The farmers don't like him very much, and they think he's not the farmers. The barnyard animals don't really like him that much as a leader, and think he's like really like stuck up and just like really controlling. Well, they like Otis more because he lets them slide a little more with doing like really awful things. And they like him more. Oh yeah, there's also Everett, who's like the really old dog that should be dead. Who's always just hanging on by a thread. Um, I love Everett. Like Everett's such a good character because like they always make jokes about how like he's just constantly drooling a lot. That's always a recurring gag in the show. Yeah, and he's like old, so like he always gets like. It's like they always just like run into him, and like he always gets hurt. Like it sounds bad, but like it's really funny though. When you watch the show, you realize it. I guess that's it for like good side characters. Yeah, it's like Everett. Everett's such a cool character. He's so funny. But yeah, that's it for characters, really. The characters are always really good. They make the show work and make the show very chaotic and interesting. The animation, of course, hasn't really aged the best, but we're always gonna let that slide because like it's the late 2000s. I guess that's probably the main reason why the show wasn't too successful. I guess if I had to guess, it probably was the animation that made the show like not as big as it should have been. Because, the animation, of course, it's kind of ugly. Like, it's like Jimmy Neutron art style, where, like, the animation hasn't aged the best. It's very 2000s 2000s CG animation. Like, all the human characters look kind of ugly, like Miss Beatty and the pizza delivery guys. They always have, like, these ugly art style, these ugly looks, but, it kind of works the show. It makes the show kind of funnier. Just knowing that like it's like this very like low budget 2000s animated show, with that type of humor, like it makes the show kind of work in the same way that like Ned's Declassified works, because it's like a low budget live action show that tries to be cartoony, and that's why the cartooniness and zaniness works in that show, is because it's low budget and it's like they have limitations. And also same with Big Time Rush too. So yeah, the animation kind of works. It does work for me. Next we have to talk about the humor. It's the main thing that you have to go for. You have to go to or no, you have to go to Barnyard for the humor. Of course, that's like the main thing. And of course, like I have to say, the humor is easily like it's very slept on. The humor is definitely slept on the show. No one talks about the humor enough. And like, I guess it's kind of it does say something that like, years later people are still talking about stuff like, the Dr. Pig Incredible Hulk thing in the show. And also the big meme, the viewer mail meme. Those are funny. And yes, if you don't watch Barnyard, side note, if you don't watch Barnyard and you know about the viewer mail thing and the Dr. Pig thing from like memes and stuff, yes, the show does commonly have episodes where that are just randomly interrupted with Pig just like saying some random stuff about like or just like saying random facts about like doctor stuff or like just reading off like this fake mail, with viewer mail. He just reads off fake fan mail and like just makes like a really weird joke about it. Like yeah, there are a lot of episodes in Barnyard that are just interrupted by one of those segments. And also random segments. Like it's like a part of like a recurring theme in the show where like Pig just has a lot of like really weird occupations. Like he has a lot of occupations and has done a lot of weird side gigs in his time. Like it's always a thing with him. Not with any other animal in the show. It's always just Pig. That always just has like, he's a doctor and he's also a makeup artist and he's also a teacher for leprechauns. He teaches leprechauns to students. Like he does a lot of stuff in the show apparently. And he's a mailman. He does a lot in the show. And and he was also a game show host, and he was he was in a Spanish play or something. Like he's done a lot in the show. Yeah, that's why Pig is such a funny character. Like if you are a really big fan of the viewer mail meme and the Dr. Pig meme, then you would like a lot of that. You would like a lot of those Dr. Pig viewer mail moments in the show because there are definitely way more of those moments in the show than just those two. What was I talking about before that? I feel like oh yeah, the humor. Yeah, the humor is great. Yeah, it's like very slept on. Like it does say something that like a humor that like people still make like jokes about the show and the humor sometimes. To this day, like, there's a reason why there's an out of context Barnyard Twitter account. Because Barnyard is pretty weird, and that's what makes it great. It's the fact that like because it's so weird and it gets very weird sometimes, it allows itself to create like this amazing humor. And I will say this, and this might be daring, but Barnyard is probably very close to SpongeBob in terms of like how they make jokes. Now, frequently they tell jokes because it's kind of like older SpongeBob in the sense that like they always tell like one joke every like 5 seconds. Like there's always just joke after joke in every episode, and that's what I love about the show. Is that like they never really it's like it's always just jokes after jokes. There's so many jokes in every episode that like it's very hard to catch them all in just one sitting. Like when you watch the episode the first time, there's a high chance that you're not going to be able to catch every single joke. Because the show is just so jam-packed with jokes and humor and like various types of humor. Like, there's zany comedy and there's also amazing wordplay too. Like there's amazing wordplay humor. There's a lot of adult humor in the show too. This show definitely reminds me of like early SpongeBob in the sense that, like there's these various types of humor in the show and there's also so many jokes in the show. Like, and that's why it blows my mind that people don't talk about the show as much when it comes to like the greatest Nickelodeon shows, because the show's humor is so good and it reminds me so much of like older SpongeBob and what older SpongeBob tried to do. And like it's such a great like substitute for that. If you want that older SpongeBob feeling, I would say that you should probably give Back at the Barnyard a good try because it might be for you. There's a good chance that it could be for you because it has a lot of really good humor, and like the humor is very frequent, which is a good thing about SpongeBob. That people always compliment the show. Sorry, that people always compliment SpongeBob for, but people never really talk about that with Barnyard. People never talk about that with that show. And that's so weird. I feel like we definitely need to fix that. Barnyard is such a good show. I will say that a million times. Barnyard is a very slept on show. Um, I don't have a favorite episode. Not really. I don't have a highlight. But I would say, yeah, you know what? I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have a favorite. I would have to rewatch the episodes carefully and to try and figure out which one's my favorite. I don't know. I really have a favorite for a lot of things. With shows, like I can't really name my favorite Gumball episode. I can't name my favorite SpongeBob. I can't name my favorite episode of SpongeBob. Same with regular show. I can't name my favorite episode of a lot of shows. Same with Barnyard. My least favorite episode, I can't name a least favorite. Also, I do have some episodes that I'm not really crazy about, but I don't want to get to them. I'm not getting into them now. Because the whole point of this is just to get you into the show. And yeah, it's a shame that the show got canceled. Yeah, so to wrap this up, yeah, the show really needed a better run. I think it was just the animation and like the poor timing of the show, because it did come out around the time that like Nickelodeon started to get bad, according to many people. I don't know. I wasn't around for that era of Nickelodeon, but apparently, according to many people, around the late 2000s was when Nickelodeon was starting to go into its like bad era of like Nicktoons, and Back in the Barnyard just kind of fit. It just aired around that time, and it was just kind of unfortunate because Back in the Barnyard is a great show. It deserved to have more seasons. It's really sad that like the last episode, it's just like some random episode, like a random 22-minute episode, but like it's just like a random episode. Like they didn't have a chance to conclude the series the way they probably wanted to, because the show got canceled after 2 seasons. And it's very sad, and it also got the Nicktoons treatment, which is unfortunate too. Like the show definitely deserved more. It definitely deserved more. Yeah, that's unfortunate because, yeah. So if you want to check out the show, if you want to check it out, go to Paramount Plus. Go to Paramount Plus right now, and search Back of the Barnyard on Google like I did. Just search up Back of the Barnyard on Google, and it'll just pop up on Paramount Plus. There we go. And you can watch the show, and you can tell me how wrong I am. But you probably like the show. I'm pretty sure you'll like the show. You'll like the show very much. I'm pretty sure, because it is a great show. I don't know how I could give it a rating, but it's probably above an 8. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably above an 8. So yeah, to wrap everything up, go watch Barnyard. Right now. Do it.